Hey you guys, I'm AJ with Eyes on Jesus, and today I am here with my friend Danen. Who are you, Danen?
Hey, this is Danen Doneske. It's Detox Time, double D raw.
Yes, and we are very excited to be doing a video together again. It's been a while.
It has been a while, yes.
If you have been following either one of us, you will know that we both have sort of wiped out a bunch of old videos. Actually, most of our videos.
Most of the videos are gone, yes.
Yes, the Lord wanted a fresh start, so we're fresh starting. So today we are on assignment to make a video about food sourcing. Now, Danen, how long have you been raw foodist?
It's been over 4 years.
Okay, so in those 4 years, Danen has learned a lot about food sourcing, and especially, Danen, you've been doing it on a budget, haven't you?
Yes, I've been doing it quite economically.
So he has learned quite a lot along the way. Now, I have learned in a couple of different states about budgeting. I've been doing a raw food diet for, I don't know, 7 years, something like that. And so I learned a lot of tricks from other people, and we just felt led to share this with you for those of you who may be new to food sourcing for raw food, for a plant-based diet, and how to do it in a way that is affordable. So I'm actually just gonna ask you, Danen, to give us, why don't you just start us off with some big things that you have learned about sourcing food, and then I'll ask you some follow-up questions.
Well, the biggest thing that I learned from sourcing food is, the highest quality is definitely going to come for, going organic, especially when it's available and you can afford it. Going to farmers markets, which I have at times, you're going right to the source, you're dealing with the farmers, and most of them do organic produce. They just may not have the certification because they don't, want to afford it, or something that's quite expensive to get the certification. But you can get quality produce, at farmers markets, and when you're buying in bulk, you definitely have the advantage versus someone just coming to buy like 1 or 2 items. The other thing is pretty much as far as convenience. Definitely going to a grocery store is very convenient, and they always have produce, that I've seen, and it's overall economical, except if you go to like Whole Foods, which is, really expensive.
It's also called Whole Paycheck, for those of you who don't know that.
Which hopefully that will change in the future.
Yes,
I remember
please.
I left the comments up to Whole Foods on a survey and told them, how they really should look at lowering their prices, and, that I've not recommended them to any of my viewers because of the expensive costs and the overpricing of a lot of things. But, there's definitely options out there. You just find out what works best for you and what's most important to you. Is it more budgeting and value, or is it highest quality? And convenience, of course, makes a difference as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to tell you that I lived in Ohio when I first began a raw food diet, and my grocery store really did not have a lot of variety, but I was able to do a raw food diet despite that. One of the things that I learned was if I went to a store like Costco or Sam's Club, that they had a lot, Costco has a lot of organic produce for cheaper prices. Sam's Club was what I used at the time, and they did have some frozen produce, so like frozen berries and mixed fruit that could be used for variety. So that was very helpful for me, because having something that tasted good and stuff that was a little bit more varied than just bananas, apples, and oranges was really helpful for keeping me going. So Danen, why don't you tell us about some of the stores that you have found to be helpful for cost and getting the highest quality produce?
Okay, like cost, I started off because I only had mainly one option was Walmart. And, you know, their prices are fairly low overall, and they do their price matching, but their quality is not like some of the other stores. And so when I had options, I went elsewhere. You know, when I moved to Tulsa, basically I had way more options. And I found that, you know, stores like Natural Grocers are really good, and all they had was organic, and the prices were very competitive, much better than like Whole Foods for sure. And then my go-tos that, you know, I get most of my stuff, it's going to be Sprouts and Aldi's. Aldi's cares about quality, and they also are really big on healthy food. All their products are highly organic, even their, you know, stuff out on the shelves and everything is organic, and the quality of the ingredients. But the produce, I've had fairly good luck with the Aldi's, and it's very inexpensive. And then Sprouts is another one that I go to, you know, every week, and they always have a lot of quality produce, and the prices are really economical. And they have organic options, but you know, you can't get everything organic, but you can get like common things like apples and tomatoes and cucumber and everything. But you know, other things, you have to get conventional, a lot of things. So when I really want to go for a lot of variety, I pretty much, you know, have to go for conventional. But Sprouts is definitely one of the places that I like to shop. And, you know, I definitely support them every week, and I have for years, really, so.
Cool. I first encountered Sprouts when I was traveling out west, because we didn't have it in Ohio, we didn't have it in Florida. I'm like, wow, you can get a lot of stuff for a lot less expensive, so that's really great. And Aldi, we did have that in Ohio, we probably had it in Florida. I kind of thought they just sold a bunch of box stuff, so it's been really educational for me to visit Aldi and be like, wow, they really do have, it was surprising to me. They do seem to really care about quality and health, so that's awesome.
They're an international company, so they're definitely doing things well, and they keep expanding all over the U.S. and, you know, internationally, so the company is doing really good.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I also will mention, because both Danen and I have some discernment gifting and the spiritual sensitivity, and we have found that in general Aldi is really pretty good spiritually, and Sprouts, you know, definitely is also pretty good spiritually. Those are good places spiritually. And you know, there are some places that we go, you know, sometimes we do our produce shopping together and find, you know, the best deals, and some places we have found are not as helpful spiritually, or it can depend on who's working too. So it depends on who's driving the shipment. So in general, we both, you know, do generally pray over what comes into our homes and what we purchase. As far as where I found a lot of things, when I was living in Ohio, it was the regular grocery store. There we used Kroger, and I have found, you know, Kroger does have a lot of healthy options. They start to expand their healthy options.
They do a lot of organic stuff. I used to shop at Kroger when I lived in East Texas. It's a very good grocery store.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that Kroger was a lot cheaper than buying stuff in Florida, but it can also vary by state, you know, the cost of food. So when I lived in Ohio, shopping at the grocery store was one of the cheapest ways to get produce. And then there was farmers markets and kind of local growers. Like sometimes you can go to an orchard to buy apples or peaches. Depending on if you have one that does organically, or you can talk to them about what they spray. And while I've traveled, I have, you know, driven through and just seen signs for a farmer's market or a produce stand, and visited and talked to them about, like, what do you spray your produce? What do you use for it? And, you know, one place I stopped, they didn't put much of anything at all on it. It wasn't called organic, but it was very healthy, and it tasted good because they cared about what they grew and sold. So that was just like a farmer's market out in the middle of nowhere, or like it was at a farm that they had a market there at their farm. So that's not, wherever you are, there's probably something. And then when I moved to Florida, it was quite expensive to shop in the grocery stores. There was a Whole Foods, but yes, it was very expensive. And my husband and I ended up finding that one of our best places was a local produce stand, just very low key.
Right.
And it was local farmers, and they didn't spray stuff. There was some organic, some conventional, so we got a lot of the organic stuff there. And then we also made use of CSAs, which is community supported agriculture. So basically you can go in with other people, and there may be a farm that's looking for a little bit more support. So people sort of pay in to buy a share. And so together you're helping to grow this crop. So the farmer's growing it, but then can make baskets of whatever has been grown and say, here's what we're having this week, and everybody gets their share of it. So that's one thing that we have used. And we've also used, a co-op is a similar thing. We've done it out of a health food store that ran a co-op. Basically, they ordered from an organic wholesaler, and they would make shares. Sometimes it depends on, what they're interested in, what comes in the shares. So they were pretty vegetable heavy, and my husband and I were wanting a lot more fruit.
Right.
So we just worked with the store, and we said, hey, can we go in on your order and get some boxes of fruit? Can you just add it onto your order? And they're like, sure. So sometimes we got an order of their vegetables share, and sometimes we just ordered 4 or 5 boxes of fruit from them. And so it was at a lot lower cost, and it was organic. So that was a really good option for us. And we also worked directly with an organic wholesaler. It was global organic, and then there was a change in things to where, I can't remember the name of it now, but it is globally that they provide wholesale. And a lot of times they work with health food stores, and they work with some co-ops. It just depends on, who you're working with. But you can look up wholesalers, organic wholesalers in your order, or even just co-ops or CSAs, and just see where they get their stuff from and see if you can work with them to order. So we just formed, my husband and I just sort of called ourselves the co-op, because we eat as much as somebody else who had a co-op and had a bunch of people eating a little amount of fruit. We're just we're a co-op. And then we just found, from time to time we had another family that would order with us, and kind of rotated. We just had different families. So it's basically 4 or 5 people. Then we just put in an order together, and we worked together, emailing back and forth to get the order together. And then we're able to get, really good prices on really high quality organic produce. So depending on where you're sourcing from, it can be really high quality. So that was pretty much our best option while living in Florida. So Danen, when I was talking, did any other things come to mind for you to share?
Yeah, it was interesting what you were mentioning about, having your own co-op and getting a whole bunch of produce, and, because that's kind of what Christina Creo Bergcrom did with her.
Fully Raw Christina.
Right, that's what she did with her co-op, Raw Fully Organic, which is currently not going anymore, but it started out with 8 to 10 families, and they were ordering from a major grocery store and shipping the produce and everything. So yeah, it's if people come together, you can sort of make, bonds and, work together to get higher quality produce at, cheaper prices. And that's exactly what's going to happen in the future.
I felt like I was supposed to ask you about that. Tell us about that, Danen. What's going to happen?
Well, the good news is basically everything is going to change. Pretty much I saw, multiple times in God's glory, I was taken into the future, and I was seeing the system completely change. Not only the medical system flipped completely and started healing people, but you started having, vegan and raw options would come into the medical system, and the hospitals had juice bars and salad bars, and this is what they're feeding the people in the rooms, in the hospital rooms. So you're not getting processed food or animal products, you're getting living nutrition that actually helps the body regenerate. So I mean, that's really the future, and people would say, well, that sounds like a fantasy. Well, it is a fantasy, but it's going to come true because I've seen it. Basically, the whole system is going to flip. You're going to see the agricultural system flip, and it's going to be really awesome and hip. That's right. I'm here to tell you and prophesy that organic is going to be in the house. Nationally, you're going to see organic basically get cheaper than conventional. The true cost of conventional is going to be portrayed, and it's going to be higher than organic. And the overall cost of organic is going to go down nationwide, and people are going to get the highest quality produce at the cheapest prices, especially here in Tulsa, because we're going to start a really big co-op that's going to feed the whole city, and it's going to basically, you know, expand. That it's going to go throughout Oklahoma, like Oklahoma City, and then eventually probably go to other states, you know, surrounding Texas and Kansas and Missouri and Arkansas, and it will spread. It'll start like a chain reaction that, you know, the type of thing will build nationally and will basically make the system change. So it's really exciting.
Awesome.
And the Food and Drug Administration is going to be the Food and Health Administration, because who cares about drugs anyway? They don't do anything for us. They just cost a lot of money, and they're toxic, and why? We just need to get rid of them. And then we basically just start healing everyone. That's why we have the Food and Health Administration coming in the future. So it's really exciting, the future changes, and I'm really looking forward to the visions and dreams coming to pass, as God can heal us with His miracle cream super fast, because we really need to eliminate diabetes, cancer, heart disease. We need to just get rid of them. We don't have to look for a cure anymore, because we've already found the cure. And it's basically healing the body naturally and spiritually. The physical and the spiritual. Healing the soul and detoxing and restoring the nutrition to make us whole. That's what it's really going to be, to get the clocks ticking. You'll see. So the future is coming, and it is very exciting. Everyone's going to be running, and you're all invited. So, yes, AJ and I are definitely looking forward to the changes where everyone can get the highest quality nutrition and produce, and literally can heal their body by going to the doctor and, you know, getting the help they really need that actually helps and restores the body, versus, you know, bring down the body's immune system and functionality.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good to me.
Yes.
Yes. So in the meantime, I want to bring up a couple of other options that I learned from my friend Jessie DePalo. She has learned how to find food very cheaply, and one of the things that she likes to do is foraging. And I know multiple people who go out foraging. They find trees in abandoned lots and can get fruit off of the trees. I know in Florida we found a tree that had mangoes on it, and it was like, oh, it wasn't on anybody's property, it was just there. And but we went back the next time and it had been foraged by someone else. But basically, some people actually, you know, don't eat the fruit that grows on their trees. And I know Jessie and others have spoken with the people who had fruit trees and said, hey, can I get the fruit from your trees if you're not going to eat it? And they're like, oh, sure, go ahead. I got way too many mangoes or coconuts or whatever. And they were able to get quite a lot of food just from people who weren't eating what was growing on their trees. And so obviously, if you have a place where you can grow trees and grow your own food, that is an excellent source of high nutrient dense food, and you can put rock dust and ocean solution in to rebuild the mineral content of your soil and get really high quality produce that you can pull out of your garden to go make a juice or a smoothie. There are some people who use wild edibles. So there are some people in the group, is it Raw Vegan Monkeys? Raw Vegan Monkeys?
I do believe so.
Okay, it used to be Vegan Fruitarians when I was in it, but on the Facebook group,
yes.
they, some of them gather the wild edibles, like different weeds. You can learn to identify weeds that are actually very high in nutrients because they're not like adulterated or...
Just like dandelions, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of nutrition, and they're very beneficial for eyesight and liver health and everything.
Yeah.
And it looks like a common weed, but it has, benefits.
Yeah, and there are stores that sell dandelions. I've bought dandelions from stores.
I've gotten them sometimes at Sprouts. They'll have them, and yeah, it's really beneficial.
So there's some like dandelions, cilantro, parsley, things that you can grow and put in to help with cleansing and detoxing. You can grow herbs.
A lot of different things.
Yeah. You can grow tomatoes. You can sprout stuff inside your house. Yeah. And, have wheatgrass.
You can do hydroponics inside your house. You can have your own little garden year-round. I mean, even in the winter, you can be growing like lettuce and tomatoes and everything. Like, there's a way if you really want to, get some of the best stuff is to grow it yourself and to mineralize the soil. That's definitely a way to do it as well. And then sprouting is really good. There's a tremendous amount of nutrition in sprouts, and it's really economical and it's really easy. It's just as easy as rinsing and then just, keeping up with it after a few days. So.
And there's like, my husband and I bought something that was called like Easy Sprouter, and it was just containers that made it even easier for those people who really don't like gardening. It was
glass
so
jar
easy.
with a screen on it. Works just as well.
And then if you live in, depending on where you live, if you have the ability to grow stuff outside, you buy a pineapple, cut off the top of your pineapple, or would you cut it off anyway to eat it? You can just put your pineapple in some soil and it'll grow a pineapple, bush, and you'll get pineapples like real. They're so good when you grow them yourself.
And you can do it the same with romaine lettuce. You can do it with celery, green onions, garlic. So a lot of things. Root vegetables can regrow themselves, and there's a lot of things that when you throw away scraps, you can actually, grow the vegetables. Well, the seeds don't necessarily always grow because they've made the seeds where they don't exactly grow, so you pretty much buy the produce again, but things are already growing and everything. It has regeneration with the roots and a little bit of water and soil, and you've got some food.
Awesome. When in Florida, when we lived in an apartment, my husband and I, he had like a whole little garden on the patio growing all sorts of fruits and vegetables, and we get dragon fruit, have it growing like, you could really grow a wide variety of stuff just on a little patio. All we had was a square. And Danen and I, when we were traveling, we visited Mike Velocity of Fruit and Strength, and he showed us this extensive, his garden.
He had
and
stuff in his garden, and he had a little patch out with fence around it, and then he had stuff around his house, and he had stuff on his porch in little pots, and he was the ultimate, in-city gardener, because he was like, in the greater Chicago area, so it was not exactly like out in the middle of nowhere.
All sorts of trees, and then some trees you take it inside when it got cold to keep it growing inside. And I know people who have grown trees, like you can grow a lemon tree inside your house too, or different types of trees. You can take them inside when it gets cold.
You can even grow banana trees inside your house. They have like dwarf trees and everything that you can do, like that I've seen as well.
Yes.
For those of us that consume a tremendous amount of fruit, it gives you a little bit, It's not exactly going to feed you completely, but hey, you have your own food that you're contributing, and you know exactly what's going on with it. So.
And it can really boost nutrition. Like, let's say you get a lot of stuff from the store, but you have some stuff that's homegrown. Like, this is the stuff that really feels good when you eat it.
You'll taste the difference. The difference in the quality, will definitely be there in the flavor, the minerals, and the nutritional levels of the produce is going to be a lot higher.
Yes. And then for those of you who also live in a place who have the ability to do it, you can look into permaculture, which I have seen a couple of people's permaculture setups. And basically, this is where it sort of grows itself. So basically, you put down a bunch of wood chips, a lot of wood chips, really deep, and then you can start planting some trees. But as the stuff falls from the trees, like leaves fall, it adds to this rich, deep soil, and it just sort of keeps regrowing. So you just start putting some things in there that as they shed, some stuff falls, it goes into the soil, and it just keeps rebuilding and regrowing. And I've seen it's like a permaculture or a food forest. And so this can take some time to like get it set up, but once you've got it going, it's a great source of very high, nutrient dense food, and it grows itself. You don't have to sit there and worry about it and work hard. There's a movie called, I think it's Back to Eden. Have you ever seen that?
Back to Eden. I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen that movie now.
Okay. Well, it was a guy, look up something about Eden and gardening, but I think it's called Back to Eden, and it was a fellow who used this method. He tried different methods for gardening, and he ended up finding the best thing was just to put you could put like newspaper on over whatever grass was there to block any weeds from growing up. So we put down a layer of newspaper and then bunch of wood chips over the top. And you can get wood chips free. Like one of my friends in Florida, she got the power company, when they cut down trees, they make wood chips out of it, and she just dump all this mulch. And you had to sort of sort out some limbs that didn't belong. But she got humongous piles of mulch, and so once you get this mulch, you can get it free or pay money, but then you got a whole layer of this deep mulch, and then you can just put your seeds into that, and the stuff will grow, and it really cuts down on weeding, and it really just helps everything grow. And so that guy, and I think Back to Eden, was teaching people how to make these farms or gardens, and to really cut down on the work, and the stuff that grew was amazing. Just letting God sort of naturally grow it.
There's a book I read, and it's called Back to Eden. Maybe that inspired the movie.
Yeah, that might have been it.
Yes.
Was it that same topic?
It was called Back to Eden, so.
So maybe it's in a book?
It was probably about growing and everything, so yeah, that's probably what it was.
Awesome. So there's other places that you can buy foods. I know Robbie Barbero, one time I interviewed him about food sourcing, and he said, for instance, in California, what they do is they have a farmer's market. And tell us, well, I think you talked about some of the tricks that Ravana talked about with farmer's markets. What were those?
Yeah, I didn't really touch on that, but yeah, in California they have this massive, farmer's market that's like huge, that is unbelievable, that you can get deals that you wouldn't believe of. So yeah, if you're out there, you can probably find it. It's in Los Angeles. But one of the things that I've seen with buying stuff that's raw food and going to farmers markets is if you go towards the end, that's when you can really make a lot of deals with the farmers. You can get secondhand produce for low cost or free, and you can get what they were pretty much gonna throw away or what they didn't want to take back with them, and you can get some really exceptional deals. So like not going at the beginning, but going at the very end. And it's like with us, if you get like a whole bunch of bananas that are past due or something, they're perfect for freezing, and then you can make ice cream and everything. It's the same with like berries or strawberries. You could get like multiple packages of them, really cheap or for free, and then you could pretty much like freeze some of it and use it for smoothies or ice cream and everything. So yeah, that's some of the tips I've heard, is go towards the end, and you can make the most bargains, with getting secondhand stuff or stuff they didn't want to take, or just getting a deal, what they don't want to take back home. It's like, you want to sell it? Here, sell it to me.
Awesome.
So.
Yeah, and you reminded me a few things as you said that. My friend Sam Spazer used to, he would go to the farmers markets, and we got this idea from him, but he met farmers at the markets and then said, hey, can I buy directly from you? Not here. And so he used to get boxes of persimmons from a persimmon farmer. And I think he also talked to different grocery stores and like, where do you locate your stuff from? And then he went out and sought those people and said, can I buy directly from you? And so he was able to get amazing deals on persimmons, directly from that farmer.
Yeah, when you're buying directly from the farmer, you're going to be dealing with the source and not all the other costs. It adds up shipping and packaging and everything. So yeah, that's definitely the way to go. And they love people like us that buy in bulk.
Right.
Because we're not just buying like one or two. We want like a case of peaches or something.
Right.
So it makes a difference.
Yeah. So my husband and I, we found a mango farm that, wasn't necessarily that well known, and we're like, hey, can we buy boxes of mangoes? He's like, yeah. So we used to go to the mango farm, and then, he would have other sources. That was another, good place, was the mango farm, and he, would have other tropical fruit friends that he would buy stuff from and bring it to his farm, and we could buy that from his stand. And it was like only certain times, like a couple hours a day, where you find out when they're open and get it at that time. And along those same lines, we learned that there's something called a rare fruit society and a rare fruit club. There can be buying clubs. But in Florida, we joined a tropical fruit, like rare fruit society. And what we went there for was they would do samples of tropical fruit, but all the tropical fruit farmers were at this club. So we found out which ones sell tropical fruit, and then we would make arrangements with them to buy from them at that thing. So it was once a month, and like there was a lychee farmer who also had dragon fruit and mame sapote or other kinds of like black sapote, just different tropical fruits. But we'd talk with them and say, well, what do you have available? Okay, great, we will buy however many pounds of this and meet you at this rare fruit society. And so then we were able to get, pretty good deals, and they were able to sell their fruit in the large amounts. So they were very happy to sell to us because we weren't just buying we were just making it worth their while. And then another thing you brought up was about the seconds. And you reminded me of some of the raw food people that I knew who I learned from to go to like Hispanic markets, where there's a lot of like Hispanic markets, or what other kinds of markets?
Asian markets.
Yeah, Asian markets.
Definitely the place to go, especially for more of the tropical stuff, and you can get it really cheap. Like, like if you go to Asian market, you can get stuff like durian and coconuts and, because they have that kind of stuff imported, and they're definitely going to, want to sell bulk to you, so it's a good place to go. Yeah, we got a lot of tropical fruit for very low price at our Hispanic market, and the tropical fruit is actually healthier. It's got a lot of health properties, more so than the temperate zone fruits, so the more you can get tropical fruits, the better. But I know like Michael Laxity talks about going to, I think an Asian store or some other places. He sources out these stores, and then he's in Chicago, so it's, northern area. But you can find them all over the place, and some are better than others, but yeah, we got quite a large variety for very cheap, like $100 for all kinds of tropical stuff. And that's probably more price than some people is in their budget, but for us that was really good compared to the other stuff we could buy in Florida. Like, it was expensive to buy fruit for us at the normal places in Florida. So, and then there were some people that I knew who went to the Hispanic markets, and they specifically went and asked for the seconds. So they were able to get boxes very cheap because it was stuff that they were probably going to throw away. Yeah.
And so they kind of had to sort through it a little bit.
That's something too. You can ask grocery stores, like the bananas, a lot of grocery stores will, take them out when they're heavily spotted, and that's when they're perfect. So, but, some grocery stores don't, because I've checked with certain ones and they're like, no, we don't really do it, we throw it away. But other ones may, may just give it to you.
Have you ever been to a store where they sold you the spotty bananas?
Not particularly, no. I've
Okay.
tried, and most of the stores, like natural grocers, when they had really spotty bananas, they would like slash the price on them, and they would be on a table. And my friend Jacqueline would get a whole bunch and freeze them and stuff. But yeah, like some of the places I went to, they wasn't necessarily gonna work with me, but some places will. So it's definitely worth asking.
Yeah.
Get to know your produce department manager, guy that's in charge, supervisor, and they definitely can probably hook you up with some discounts or even just some free stuff, because some grocery stores are not worried about all the risks and everything, and they'll just be like, sure, you want some of this, we're just gonna chuck it anyway. In other places, like, they won't give it to
Right.
you, so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think about that. At the Hispanic Market, they did have a shelf that was just like bananas that were ready to eat right now.
Right.
And it was like $1 for this humongous bag of bananas, Or at the produce stand, that's where we got some of the stuff. That's where we got a lot of our spotty bananas. If we wanted bananas that were ready to eat today or make banana ice cream out of, we go to that produce stand. So yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And another thing that you reminded me of is, I don't know how you feel about this, but some people go dumpster diving. And I watched a really great video by this girl and her brother, I guess, who went dumpster diving, and I was amazed. I mean, they took gloves and they knew exactly, they got to know when the grocery store emptied out their produce, and they took their gloves and they went into the dumpster and they got out all this perfectly good fruit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they washed it or whatever, and a lot of stuff had peels on it, so you don't have to worry about a banana peel, but I was like amazed. They probably got like $150 to $200 worth of fruit from the dumpster, and it was perfectly fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of grocery stores, especially like Walmart, that they throw away a lot of stuff that's not even bad, but just because like the date or something on it is expired or whatever, and they'll chuck it and it'll be like brand new produce looking. I've seen documentaries and I've seen videos of a guy that went and he got literally like a couple $100 of stuff from the dumpster, and it was just produce, and it was completely good, like lettuce, and a lot of this stuff was still packaged, so it wasn't like it was like all nasty and everything. It was still in the package, like
Right.
berries that were still good, and
Yeah.
it's not for everyone, but those that really are desperate and they want to go for free stuff. I mean, yeah, they do. Grocery stores throw away a lot of stuff. And it's kind of ridiculous how much grocery stores throw away, and it'll be good in the future when we can take that and feed it to people that really need it, especially like people that are low income or homeless and stuff, instead of just giving it to the garbage bin.
Yeah. When I watched that video, I was very impressed, and I was like, well, I'm going to see what I can do, because we had been in Florida and we're like, well, it's expensive here. What can we do to cut costs? So I actually checked out the grocery stores and their dumpsters, but a lot of them do have them locked up, and they're like make it so that people can't dumpster dive
and everything, so
you
can't even get into it. So.
Yeah, so it was not a possibility for me, but it might be a possibility.
It's not easy for everyone. Like big grocery stores, they have like locks and keys, but like other ones, they may have some that are accessible, but you have to know when they throw away their stuff and the timing, and it's different, but if you're up for a challenge and want to try and get some free stuff, then go for it.
Yeah, and probably want to pray over that produce too.
Yeah.
So, and here's another thing. I have a friend who, living in Florida, she was really kind of didn't have a lot of money to live on, and she was trying to be healthy, and she ended up she found ways to feed herself during the day, and then in the evenings she ate at a different food pantry every night. And I was amazed at the food because she said actually some of the pantries said, here, take some food home with you, because people donated food. And she had dates that she had gotten from the food pantry and like some other fruit. She's like, yeah, I got this from the food pantry. So depending on where you are and what your food pantries are like and what your financial situation is, that might be an option too. You might actually be able to find some healthy stuff at a food pantry.
Yeah, they're gonna have some form of produce, you know, it depends on the city and everything. I remember there was times when I was, you know, really in a situation that I seriously, you know, wanted to get in touch with them and ask them, like, do you guys have produce? Or, you know, it's like, can I have some? But, you know, it's mainly people that are really in a financial situation. It's definitely the people that really need that stuff. They definitely, you know, that's what it's for and everything.
Right, yeah. So another option for sourcing produce, and this is a really tasty one, is during the winter months. It is date season. And so in general, bananas and dates are the highest amount of calories. Bananas, dates, grapes also, mangoes. But bananas and dates are very high in calories and cheapness. So you can get a lot of cheap calories through bananas and dates. And so bananas you can like buy a box or store. We already talked about bananas, but dates, you know, we used to get them from the wholesale ordering company, but another great place where you can get them very cheaply is from a date farm. And so there are date farms in like Arizona and California. You know, there's one called Date People, which is high quality, spiritually good. It's going to be more expensive. There's one called Batista Date Farms, 7 hot dates. It's still organic. You know, the spiritual dynamics are a little bit different than the Date People. And there's other sources of dates, like from California. I've had some really good from other date farms, but those are some of the ones that I definitely have tried and know about. And it can be a source of very tasty, cheap calories during the winter. And it was like organic, and it was tastier than what I could buy in the grocery store, and it's cheaper than what I could buy in the grocery store. So you can buy a big thing, keep it in the fridge or the freezer, depending on how long you plan to keep it, and it can be a good backup source of calories too. And another source of, you know, for those who are on a budget, can you just tell us some of your budgeting tips for sourcing like raw food, plant food? Some of, you know, we've talked a lot, but if there's any other tips for getting cheap stuff and calories that...
Realistically, bananas are going to be one of your staples year-round. That's with most, you know, raw foodists, especially on a fruitarian, low-fat diet. You're always going to, you know, want at least like 30 to 50% of your calories are going to come from bananas, unless, you know, you're really like, you know, want a lot of variety and you can afford it, then you might go for less. The other thing is apples are one of the things that I use year-round, especially in the wintertime when they're in season. You know, I've bought like at times like 25 pounds of apples or more, and I'll juice them, I'll turn them into applesauce, I'll, you know, slice them like apple chips, and there's a lot of different things you can do with apples.
You make a dip out of dates or something?
Yeah, and you know, you could even freeze them and turn them into apple ice cream. I've done that with pears and some other stuff. So there's a lot of different things, but it's always buy when it's on sale. You know, when it's on sale, you buy more. And I based a lot of my eating based on the sales. So when things are on sale, I buy a large quantity. You know, because I eat like, you know, probably a good 40 pounds of fruit just a week, you know, and maybe like 14 pounds of vegetables. So it makes a big difference to buy what's on sale and what's in season. When you buy in season, you're gonna, you know, buy more economically versus like trying to get certain stuff out of season, you know, and the fruit is gonna taste the best when it's in season. You know, vegetables, like there's a lot more leniency with that, but the fruit, like it's definitely best in season. So in the winter time, it's definitely like gonna be like apples and oranges and citrus, and then of course you can always get bananas. you know, as a staple food. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's good stuff. And also I have learned from Danen about another backup food. It's not completely raw because it's pasteurized, but you can buy 100% juice from Aldi, or I mean other places, but Aldi, it's pretty cheap, it's tasty, and it's a good backup. Like for instance, maybe there's a snowstorm and the produce is getting kind of low. Well, we have juice. You know?
Yeah, or even go with like a good cold press, you know, flash pasteurized juice. It's definitely better than nothing. But yeah, when it comes down to like survival and everything, you know, dried fruits and, you know, juices are definitely gonna help, especially if you're dealing with like snow or ice or something. So
yeah, I kept in Florida. I made sure to keep like dates on hand. I had a lot of stock of dates.
Raisins.
Yes, dates and raisins. I had a survival pack basically, and I had some different juices. And we actually had like an orange juice stand near us where it was fresh squeezed, and it wasn't organic, but they didn't spray it a lot. It tasted really good.
That's
and it was
really
fresh.
good, like orange juice. And there's places that you can get raw orange juice at the store that they like make every week, like Whole Foods does that and some other grocery stores. So like orange juice is a really good staple, you know, especially if you're kind of on a budget and you need options. And it's good. I mean, it's sweet, it gives you energy like that. You know, juice is like instant energy, you know, so.
And we've talked about like, you know, juicing if you get stuff from the garden, but let's say, I mean, when I did juicing for Gerson therapy, we were buying fresh stuff because we didn't have a place to grow a lot. We grew some sprouts inside, but you know, we had a concrete lot. And so what did we do for our greens, for our juice? We bought a lot of it and it got really expensive. And so one of the things, and plus it took a lot of time and work, and so I learned later on, like Costco sells these cold pressed green juices, so it's raw and it's pretty cheap. And there's, you know, sometimes my grocery store would have a, you know, buy one get one free on those, so you can buy that and get, you know, it's a lot cheaper. And so then I can just add some juiced barley grass powder to it to increase the mineral content. But that was a really great option for me for getting in green juice. And I have a video on Gerson therapy where I talk, you know, more about that. But that's like he said, the cold pressed juice is another option. And you know, if you know, for those who are transitioning and not completely raw, there's not going to be, you know, as much, you know, worry about is this completely raw. It's pasteurized maybe, so you know,
it's pasteurized. A flash pasteurized is a very high heat, it's very quick, and then it's cold. You know, it's cooled down quickly. It's not like a long-term, like cooking the juice, which is, you know, killing most of the nutrition. So yeah, I mean, there's options out there. You can get like Suja, Bold House, Naked Juice. There's a lot of different companies that have high quality, you know, cold pressed juice. And there's a lot of variety out there too.
Yeah.
You know, especially for those people that are transitioning, or for a lot of people that, you know, aren't raw at all. I mean, just including a cold pressed juice is a great way to get easy to digest nutrition into your body. So. Yeah,
I remember while traveling, I bought this like, I remember it was on a video, something about veggie. So there's like pure veggie.
Yes.
It was a pure veggie. It was like a V8 substitute. It was
organic.
Yeah, liquid organic.
Yes.
And it really felt very good. It had sodium. It had a whole bunch of vegetable juices in it, and so
it was very tasty.
So there was, you know, they had Lakewood Organics got a lot, and the naked juices make, you know, the mango juice or the green machine. I've had those, and they make me feel really good. Yeah. So it might not be completely raw, but it's still got a.
It's not perfect, but it's really good, you know. And there's a lot of companies out there that they have a quite high quality juice that you can get in the store. And there's so many out there now. Like I've seen like all kinds of brands, you know, and they're mostly cold pressed. So You can look in your grocery store and health food store, and they'll definitely have options.
Mm-hmm. And for those who are transitioning, like, and maybe not all raw yet, it's so easy because beans and rice are cheap. I mean, you can get corn that's flash pasteurized corn from the frozen section and just thaw it. It's, you know, pretty close to raw. But the beans and rice are really cheap staple.
Sweet potatoes, those are all like, you know, I used to do that when I was like raw till 4. And that was pretty good for as far as getting in calories, and it's economical. But funny, it's like the bananas are cheaper than potatoes. So like now I wouldn't even go back to potatoes. I don't even want to go back to potatoes because I enjoy the sweet calories and easy to digest calories versus the bland cooked calories.
Right. And the other thing that a lot of times people do during transitioning is steamed vegetables, like steaming
potatoes,
broccoli and all that stuff.
Onions, you know, garlic.
But I love Danen's experience with that, where he's like, I could get bananas cheaper, and then it was raw. Like, that's awesome.
Like economic wise, it's pretty much cheaper. But I mean, really cheap calories are definitely going to be like beans, rice, like good quality whole grain pastas and stuff. That kind of stuff is going to be your cheapest calories that you can get.
And it's really, I wanted you to tell us about another thing that you have done to get variety very cheaply is the seasoning with the vegetables. Can you tell us about that?
Well, like when I started out, I would pretty much do similar vegetables every week. So the way I make variety is I don't chop them up the same. I chop them up differently, you know, slice them one day and quarter them another day and half them the next day and shred them another day. And then of course it's like making the seasonings. You can have the same salad with the same ingredients chopped up differently, but when you season it differently, it's a completely different salad. Like one day you can do like, you know, like a taco salad with like cumin and paprika and cayenne, and another day you can do like a chipotle salad with like chili powder and cayenne pepper, and I mean you can do an Italian salad with like oregano and basil and thyme, or you know, lemon pepper. I mean, there's all kinds of seasoning, garlic and herb, mustard powder. The list goes on. You really can add variety. You know, that's a big thing that Dr. Young talked about when I was on the, you know, his program was pretty much eating lots of vegetables and seasoning them. And you could make like, you know, big sandwiches, burritos, but they were seasoned and made it taste amazing. So
I've sampled some of his salads, and I've watched him make some. I'm like, wow, these are incredible creations, and it's like the same ingredients, but it's different seasonings. It's really incredible.
And then of course changing up, you know, the fat. Like I will do avocados, and I'll do like ground up walnuts and sunflower seed kernels, ground up flaxseed. Chia seed adds a nice gel texture, you know. Sesame seeds is like a really good cheesy texture. Like you can make like a dip and put like sesame seeds and like sauerkraut, and you know, it's just amazing. So there's a lot of variety that you can do, and you can make it interesting even on eating like the same produce every week, because literally I eat similar produce every week and I still enjoy my salads because I have different bases. I have carrots, I have red cabbage, spinach, kale, romaine, you know, green lettuce, and you have the seasonings. So that's really what makes a difference.
And as far as getting the nuts and seeds, one thing that Danen taught me was how much cheaper you could get them by buying in bulk. If you have
my gosh, yeah, going to like Sprouts, you can go to the bulk bins and you can save huge amounts of money. Like you can get chia seeds like for $3.99 a pound, and like you can get them in bags for like, you know, way more expensive, like $8 for 3/4 of a pound.
And then if you get it when it's on sale, it's even
Right,
better.
I mean, you know, they've had sales for like, get like walnuts for $3.99 a pound, and these are raw walnuts. It's just they're not packaged and everything. You're scooping them out yourself, you're getting what you want, and you save a lot of money versus buying the packaged stuff. Because when I started shopping at Sprouts, like, I would just get things when they were on sale, like walnuts were on sale, I'd get a whole bunch of walnuts, and that would keep me going for like months. Because I would rotate what I would have. I'd never have the same thing over and over, so I'd always have, you know, some walnuts and flaxseed and, you know, chia. Hemp seed is more expensive, but, you know, I'd eat less of that and other of, you know, the other things that were cheaper and on sale. So.
And another thing that Danen taught me was about using eBay. And so, for instance, some of the supplements, let's say I really love raw meal, and so my husband and I have found it on Amazon. You can buy it when it's, okay, we got a sale on Amazon, or on Vitacost, okay, there's a Vitacost coupon code, you can get some stuff on Vitacost. But Danen's found a lot of stuff on eBay for...
It's really cheap, you know.
And so, you know, if you can find a good supplier for whatever you need, and the different supplements, like that is, you know, if you're somebody who does eBay, or you have a friend who does it, who can purchase it on your behalf, like that's what I've had Danen do for me, like, can you buy this on eBay for me?
Yeah, you can buy like essential oils cheaper on eBay, and there's tons of stuff. You can get supplements cheaper on eBay. So yeah, that's definitely a good way to save money.
And there's, you know, some places like the juiced barley grass powder, I buy it from Sunburst Superfoods. That's kind of the cheapest, high quality one that I have found. But you know, we've given you a lot of other options. You can grow wheatgrass in your home or whatever, you know. So, and if you find like maybe the store has a buy one get one free on some kind of green powder, like it may not be juiced barley grass powder, but there's other quality supplements that, you know, you can maybe find where you are, that maybe going on sale, or local person that makes them or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have friends who have made their own supplements, and they have found that a very cheap way to do it, making their own vitamins. They buy the ingredients and put them together, you know. And another thing is, like, raw sauerkraut is something that I do a lot of. Trader Joe's is good, Sonoma Brinery, very tasty, raw. But that's another thing that you can make on your own, depending on how much time you have, how much willingness and ability to do that and wait on it. And I would recommend Wellness Mama. She has so many good ideas for saving money and doing things that bring a lot of health and wellness. And so she's one of the resources I go to a lot to learn from. So she's another place that you can learn a lot of good stuff. Do you have any other things to share?
No, I think we've covered everything.
I'm sure there's something missing, but we've really covered a lot, and
yes.
So I'm sure that you have picked up something from this video, and so I'm really happy to share all this information with you, because I know it can really make a huge difference when you have a good source of you know, produce and supplements, and just know, like, it was really huge for me to stay consistent, to have a good source, and to keep stocked, and to have backup foods that I could always go to. And then it was like, I never got into a position where I was like, oh, I don't have anything to eat, I guess I'll have to go get some junk food, because I always had something on hand. And so if you keep juice on hand, keep some dates in your freezer, some raisins. You can store raisins for a really long time. I mean, you can always have something raw, like the dehydrated fruit. Some people buy dehydrators and dehydrate food. Some people buy those things, it's like a suction thing. It takes the air out of it and can preserve things for a really long time.
Vacuum sealing.
Yeah, like some survivalists use those. So you can you can do a lot of stuff to save money and keep stuff on hand so that you always have options. And always having options is very, very, very helpful for staying raw, staying on a plant-based diet, and having places where you know you can get what you need is just so helpful to succeeding on a raw food diet and sticking to your goals that you want to accomplish. So,
Awesome.
thank you, Danen, for all that you've shared.
You're welcome.
And thank you, AJ, for all that you've shared. Oh, that's me. Okay. Thank you guys for watching and for spending this time with us. And God bless you. And we just pray, God, just pray for success for them in everything that you're leading them to with health, with lifestyle changes. And I'll just ask for you to bless their efforts and bless them with perseverance and everything they need to succeed and continue on. And I ask you, Lord, also to bring resources and connections and community that they can connect with to find what they need to succeed. Even online groups, you can meet people who can, sorry, I know we're almost done, but there's, Victoria Everett. She makes dehydrated tomatoes and other raw snacks. She just does it as a side thing because she's making them for herself. So she's somebody that you can meet in these online groups and be like, oh, you share what you got, I'll bless you with, so it's like different resources. There's so many options. So God, I just ask you to lead them where they need to go. Do you have any prayers you want to add?
Amen.
All right, we say amen. God bless you guys. And keep your eyes on Jesus. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.